Coming up on Sports Paws, women's soccer is nearing the end of its regular season run. Head coach Dave Clark is live in studio to talk about this past weekend.
Also, field hockey is fighting for a spot in the Big East tournament. How did they fare against Old Dominion?
And on this week's edition of Meet the Bobcats, we have women's volleyball freshman Michelle Cuervo. Find out what her life is like off the court.
And of course, your favorite time of the week, we've got your top 5 plays later on in the show.
This is Sports Paws.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sports Paws. I'm Aaron Robinson and alongside me is Kyle Lavasser. Kyle, the MAC regular season is winding down for women's soccer.
That's right, Aaron. The Bobcats entered the second to last week of the regular season at 3-1-2 in the conference, and Quinnipiac traveled to New Rochelle, New York to face off against Iona on Wednesday. Let's see how they did. Quinnipiac coming off a 1-1 tie in overtime against Ryder, while Iona, well, they're still looking for their first win of the season. They entered the match with only 1 goal in their last 6 MAC games. But here, Charlotte Stewart gets the scoring started for the Gales. A nice rip, top right corner. Not much Olivia Majewski to do about that one. Iona up 1-0 in the half. Later on, Al Pelletier sends one through the box, but Iona is able to slide and clear it through, out of the box. And again, Quinnipiac with another chest. Jess Casio with the strike, but the Iona goaltender gets a hand on it, knocks it out of play. Quinnipiac can't do anything on the corner, and here Nadia Gilwell, it's always good when she has the ball, but hits the crossbar. No dice for Quinnipiac. Iona leads 1-0 at the half, Aaron, and they're still looking for their first win of the year. Second half now, Hannah Ryder. Quinnipiac doesn't go down dying though. Great pass all the way across the pitch to Al Pelletier, who gets it through the goalie. The intensity from Pelletier, look at that, she's into it. Game tied 1 apiece, but here at the 12th hour, 90th minute of play, Iona wins it 2-1.
And right into game 2, women's soccer versus Niagara. Quinnipiac coming in at 3-2-2. Quinnipiac lost to Niagara on the road 3-0. Right to the first half, Al Pelletier takes a shot right outside the box, but a diving save is made by Niagara's Sabrina Locust. Next we got a goal by Carly Glaser. Quinnipiac takes a 1-0 lead in the first half. Later on, Katrina Freeman gets a red card for an alleged handball. Quinnipiac is playing with 10 women for the rest of the game. Now we got a penalty shot, but it's off the crossbar. The game stays at 1-0 Quinnipiac. Later on, we got Al Pelletier running past the defense and slots in a goal past Sabrina Locust. Quinnipiac takes a 2-0 lead. Pelletier continuing to get involved. She's sending the shot right into the box, but it goes wide. Nadia Gill sticking on the field and gets taken down. We've got a penalty. On the penalty shot, Nadia Gill puts one in the back of the net. What a season she's having. Quinnipiac will go on to win 4-0.
Really impressive win for Quinnipiac, Aaron, especially down a player from that red card. But anyway, after splitting this weekend, the women's soccer team is slotted in at 4th in the MAC standings. Q30 Sports polled Twitter asking if the Bobcats will make it back to the MAC championship game. 63% of voters believe Quinnipiac will return to get its revenge, while 30% think the Bobcats will fall short of the championship game.
Al Pelletier took home MAC Offensive Player of the Week honors after tallying 3 goals in last week's contest. Pelletier's 3 goals was the best in the conference, and it earned her the first weekly award of her career. Pelletier netted her first goal of the week in a 2-1 loss at Iona. She then doubled up in her next game against Niagara, netting 2 goals in the team's 4-0 win. We have women's soccer head coach Dave Clark in studio with beat reporter Sierra Goodwill. Sierra, take it away.
Thanks, Aaron. So we talked about it after the game on Saturday, but how important was it to get that win against Niagara to boost morale after that rough loss to Iona on Wednesday?
It wasn't just the Iona game. It was also Ryder and Monmouth. We were on the back of a poor run results-wise, even allowing for the level of the opposition. The Iona game was disappointing, so it was good to get the win, especially on the back of the red card early in the game.
And this was the first time you guys beat Niagara since joining the MAC. Do you think that last year's MAC championship appearance kind of has been a spark plug for positive change going forward for this program?
It gives you the confidence that you know you can beat teams in successful programs, as you've seen with men's ice hockey, women's basketball, is that they build on that success, and then you just have that belief going into the following season. You know how to handle yourself in big occasions. You know how to handle yourself in tough situations. We found ourselves in one on Saturday, didn't panic, reorganise, and then the juniors and seniors stood up and were counted.
So next up for you guys is Manhattan. They're second place in the MAC. How important is a win? Obviously, every win now is important. You only have 2 games left, but for playoff implications?
I think the most important thing for us is to finish, in the top 4, just preferably 2 or 3, just so that you get that extra, the day off against a team who's played earlier. If you come 4 or 5, you still have a bye, you still have a day off, but you played each other. And then second or third also keeps us on the other side of the draw to begin with from Monmouth. So that's the goal anyway.
And this is a year where you guys have a very good chance where you could have clinched a home playoff game. Is it at all frustrating that the MAC tournament is in Disney and you won't be able to play off that home crowd?
You can't think of it that way because of all the planning, even the schedule, playing Miami, playing Harvard, playing Dartmouth, the way that we play teams on the road was all geared with Disney in mind. If it's a regular MAC season, then you change the schedule, you change how you do it, you change the planning. So we've thought about everything in terms of the tournament at Disney.
And you saw the Twitter poll. Do you agree with the results?
Yeah, it's people's opinions. It's up to us to prove it right or prove it wrong.
Thanks so much for
No
joining
problem.
me. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Sierra. The Quinnipiac rugby team dropped a spot from 2nd to 3rd in this week's NIRA rankings. Central Washington jumped from the 3rd to the 2nd spot in this week's poll after defeating Quinnipiac last week. Dartmouth still sits at number 1 as they are the lone undefeated team remaining in the country. The Bobcats look to bounce back from this loss to Central Washington as they played host to number 5 Army on Friday.
The Bobcats came out with a vengeance on Friday, defeating the Army Black Knights 62-5. Senior Alona Marr led the Bobcats in tries and assists with 3 apiece. Freshman Carson Han also recorded the first try of her career. Quinnipiac got help from Mika Maples, who had 2 tries on the day, and Flora Poole, Rebecca Haight, and Layla Scott, who each tallied a try. Next up for Quinnipiac is a rematch with arch rival Central Washington this Sunday at home. Aaron field hockey head coach Becca Main said last season's win against Old Dominion was the biggest win in program history. Here they are in the Big East standings, sitting in at 6. UConn, the number 1 team in the country. Well, they're undefeated this year, 17-0, a national powerhouse. Well, let's see how Quinnipiac faced off against Old Dominion this past weekend.
That's right, Kyle. Right to the highlight. We have field hockey taking on Old Dominion. Quinnipiac 2-3 coming into the game. Taking to the first half. Carrie Sensick, she's up for a big slap shot, which goes past Livy Galini. Old Dominion takes a 1-0 lead early on. Crazy shot there from Old Dominion. Later on in the first half, Quinnipiac gets a chance to get even, but it goes right off of the goalie's boot. The play is eventually called dead, and Old Dominion maintains its 1-0 lead. Later on in the first half, Anouk Vandersteen takes the rebound and sends it into the back of the net. Old Dominion goes up 2-0.
Penalty corners have been so big for this team, either feast or famine for them all year.
Absolutely. We're into the second half now, and this shot deflects off of a player, but into the back of the net. Old Dominion now up 3-0. Quinnipiac still battling, though. We'll take you later on in the second half. Montana Fleming gets the shot, and somewhere along the way, Michelle Federico puts it into the back of the net. Quinnipiac gets some opportunities late. 2 shots go off of the goalie, and Quinnipiac goes on to lose this game 3-2.
And Aaron, Quinnipiac will play Temple and UConn to finish off the Big East regular season for them. That Temple game is really a must-win with UConn being 17-0 this season.
Absolutely.
Well, moving from field hockey to men's ice hockey, Rand Pecknold's squad took on Vermont at home this Saturday for its 3rd non-conference game of the year. Let's roll the tape. Vermont, the 3rd Hockey East opponent so far for Quinnipiac this season. They lost one and tied one against BC and BU last weekend. Let's go right to the second period. Stefanos Lakos of Vermont had 17 saves in the first. And while here, Vermont's going to take an early lead, squeaking one right past a tight window through Andrew Shortridge. But here, Odin Tufto is going to net his first collegiate goal, tying the game at 1. Here he gets the rebound from Brogan Rafferty.
Have a day freshman.
That wouldn't be the last of him, Aaron. And here later on, Tanner McMaster finds the 5-hole, putting Quinnipiac up 2-1 to end the second period. And while Aaron, Quinnipiac blew 1-goal leads in the third period, both against BC and BU, and they do it again here against Vermont, sending them to overtime for their third game in just as many this season. And here in overtime, well, we said Odin Tufto would have a day. Here he is with the game winner. Have a day, freshman, and the celebration after. Look at that. I think we might see that one later on. Quinnipiac wins their first regular season game of the year.
The men's ice hockey team dropped one spot from number 17 to number 18 in this week's USCHO.com poll, despite an overtime win this weekend against Vermont. Denver remains the number one spot, receiving 49 out of 50 first-place votes. The Bobcats travel to face number 16 Northeastern this weekend in a matchup of two perennial New England powers.
Yeah, interesting, Aaron, that Quinnipiac dropped from 17 to 18 even after the win. Well, it's time for our first commercial break, but when we come back, Dylan Fearon will stop in to talk about this past weekend for men's soccer.
Also, women's hockey looks to get their first week of the season against the University of Vermont. We'll take a look at how they did when we return.
Coming up on #that, we talk about some fun events around Quinnipiac's campus.
And we talk about some weird news that's been discussed around Twitter.
All that and more, we are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Whether you're on the quad, in your room,
or heading to class,
tune in to Q30 News.
For stories by student journalists you can trust.
We are covering the latest here on campus and in surrounding areas.
Get the news you need to know every Wednesday night.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. QCash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Sports Paws is brought to you by Custom Cakes by Steve. If you can dream it, we can bake it. Thanks for sticking with us on Sports Paws. Eric DaCosta's men's soccer team entered this weekend at 2-2 in the MAC. With a 3-goal outburst at Canisius last Saturday, send the Bobcats in the right direction.
Let's take a look, Kyle. So we're going to the men's soccer game versus Iona. The Bobcats are coming in at 3-0 off a win versus Canisius. Huge points are at stake here. Quinnipiac had a bunch of chances in this one. We'll look at the first one. Quinnipiac sends a shot into the box, but it's saved by the goalkeeper later in the first half. We've got Max Rothenbueger puts the ball into the box, but Eamon Whalen cannot get a shot off.
Oh, they were right there.
Yep. Later on, we've got a shot into the box, and the pass goes to James Dorg. He sends this one into the bleachers. Another shot, we got a cross, and this one, no dice for Quinnipiac as well. As you see here, they had a bunch of chances in this one, but none seemed to go their way.
They just didn't seem to get a head on it that could find the back of the net.
We're going into the second half now. Malcolm Moreno sprints down the right side, and of course, the one chance Iona get, they put one in the back of the net. Iona takes a 1-0 lead. 22 seconds left, we get a free kick. And Iona's Matias Correa tries to stop it, so he gets a red card. And now Quinnipiac playing with a man up. The free kick is taken. Quinnipiac with a small chance, but they come up a little bit short. Iona goes on to win this one 1-0.
After losing to Iona at home, Quinnipiac looked to rebound on the road at Manhattan. Dylan Fearon has more.
1-0 scores are pretty common for the Quinnipiac men's soccer team. Tonight, the Bobcats defeat Mac Foe Manhattan a 0-0, making it the 7th time Quinnipiac has been on either end of that score this season. But tonight was the most important.
We had to pick up 3 points, whether it was pretty ugly, 4-2, 5-2, whatever it was, and just win the game.
All-Mac forward Eamon Whalen's 38th minute goal was all the Bobcats needed to take down the second-place Jaspers. Just his first of the season as a groin injury has limited Whalen, but he's back at the perfect time.
Great ball in for Matt. I mean, I couldn't have scored without that, but good. I'm happy for it. I'm happy for myself, happy for the team. This year it's been a little tough. Not all the balls have gone in, but got to start with one, so there it was.
For Eamon, it's massive for him to get that goal tonight. Hopefully it's going to boost his confidence and he'll take it into his stride going into the next couple of games because we're going to need him.
The first half belonged to Quinnipiac and possession was the name of the game. But in the second half, Manhattan was knocking on the door, forcing Bobcats goalkeeper Chris Yakovitis to make a couple of great saves.
Last 10 minutes of every game is like, especially when you have a 1-0 lead, it takes about 15 years off the end of your life, and it's anything can happen, and you know you have to have a lot of courage when you're on the field.
Not only was this win important for Quinnipiac in terms of moving up in the MAC standings, but DaCosta promised his team something new if they came away with 3 points.
No, we're due some Adidas gear, so hopefully it gets delivered on time.
Oh yeah, hopefully we get some nice jackets now. He said he sticks to his word, so on the next interview I'll be having it on and showing everyone.
It'll be another week before that next interview. Quinnipiac has some time off before welcoming Marist to town next Saturday. Reporting from the Bronx, Dylan Fearon, Q30 Sports.
We're now going to bring in men's soccer beat reporter Dylan Fearon. The man doesn't stop. Now, Dylan, I heard that our executive producer Chris Dacey had some questionable song choices on the ride to Manhattan. Can you confirm?
Look, I'll say this. He's never riding shotgun in my car again, and the music he played was not nearly as good as what we're hearing outside in the piazza. That's all I'll say.
Good to know. Well, Quinnipiac handed Manhattan just its second MAC loss of the year. Is this the game Quinnipiac turns its season around?
I think so. Manhattan's a great team, only 4-1 in the MAC. They only allowed 1 goal in the first 5 games in MAC play, and it was to Ryder in double overtime. So Manhattan's good. They earned Quinnipiac's respect, and Manhattan was at home. So for Quinnipiac to go on the road, get a clean sheet, score, and have it be Eamon Whalen's, an important goal for him, was huge. I think you couldn't have asked for a better game from the Bobcats. They played fantastic in the first half, and I think this will spark them. I thought the Niagara game when they won 2-0 on the road was going to spark them. A couple losses in between there, between that win and the Manhattan win, but I think this is the one that gets them going, which is 4 games left before the MAC tournament.
Now, like you just said, Eamon Whalen scored his first goal in a huge game this weekend against Manhattan. Just how important is his production to this team?
Well, he's so important. We knew that this season. You know, a top 100 freshman in the country last year, all MAC forward, best freshman in the MAC a year ago. So we knew he was good, but that lingering groin injury that he suffered against UConn had been hampering him throughout the season. So he finally feels good as MAC play resumes. 75 minutes against Manhattan, scores the only goal, his first of the year, which is an important goal. Just seeing the ball going into the back of the net is huge for him. So he's clearly important because as he plays well, Quinnipiac gets results, as we saw on Saturday and last year when they made the MAC final. So as he goes, Quinnipiac goes, and I think it showed on Saturday how important he really is, just not from scoring, but from being active in the box, you know, just being a presence, playing well, playing fast, and controlling tempo. He did a great job on Saturday.
Dylan, you've seen the team all year long, traveling to UConn, Brown, and Manhattan. What was different this Saturday compared to the rest of the season?
The first half was the best half of soccer they'd played all season long, controlling tempo, controlling pace, keeping possession throughout the entire first half, and scoring, which we know has been a huge struggle for this team. They finally got a goal on the road against a really good team in a game that they all called a must-win. So the first half was just different because they scored, they did everything right. There was no real mental lapses that they committed that they had previously committed in other games. So no mental mistakes, they controlled possession. Manhattan had no chances in the entire first half. Second half, yeah, they knock on the door, but that's because they're a good team and they're at home, solid crowd. Second half, they played well, had 10 shots. So it makes sense, but the first half was the best half of soccer they'd played all season.
Now, Dylan, this team is looking like it's starting to catch its stride. Is a bye in the MAC tournament out of the question for this team?
I don't think so. Top 2 get a bye. Top 6 make the playoffs, the MAC tournament. So I think right now they're in a good position to make the playoffs. They're tied for 5th The next 4 games are all against teams below them in the MAC standings. They've got Marist on Saturday, then they go to Siena, St. Peter's, they have Monmouth, all teams below them. St. Peter's and Siena don't even have a win in conference play, and it's a down year for Monmouth. So I think they can get away with 10 points in the last 4 games and look at that second place. They're not going to get first. Regular season champs Ryder is too good, but second place is definitely up for grabs as the season winds down.
So Dylan, one-word answer. Where do you think they're going to finish in the MAC?
I think they can finish second. I think they're going to get 10 points out of the next 4 games, win 3, tie 1, probably against Monmouth, and look at 19 points, and I think that will be good enough for second place.
Dylan Fearon, always a pleasure.
I know it was 1 word, but I'm sorry, yeah.
I'll give you a break. Well, after splitting its first 2 weekends, the women's ice hockey team took on Vermont at home in a 2-game series. Let's take a look at game 1. Quinnipiac unranked, Aaron, something we don't normally see this for the past couple years out of the women's ice hockey team. Here they are against Vermont, a Hockey East team. The men's team was able to get it done on Saturday. The women's team here on Friday. Vermont with a nice save. Quinnipiac up 1-0 after 1 period. And here it was Odine Tufto, the freshman for men's ice hockey, and it was Brooke Bonsteel, the freshman for women's ice hockey. There she is, netting a goal, putting Quinnipiac up 1-0. But here, Abby Ives, a little freshman mistake, isn't able to get the puck from beyond her net. Vermont scores up 2-1, but here she makes up for it, a nice save. And later on, Brooke Bonsteel gets her second goal of the day, putting Quinnipiac up 3-1, entering the 3rd period. Here, Abby Ives again, a nice save right to the gut, giving Quinnipiac a 3-1 lead. And there, the Vermont goalie, a nice stick save, keeping the game at 3-1. And then Sarah Ev Katugabu at the end, a nice empty net goal. Quinnipiac would go on to win 4-1, improving to 3-2 on the season.
Now, Quinnipiac got the win in game 1, but would they complete the sweep of the Vermont Catamounts in game 2? MJ Baird has more.
The 3rd time's the charm. In its 3rd weekend series of the year, Quinnipiac women's ice hockey earned its first series sweep. Quinnipiac beat Vermont 2-1 on Saturday night, gaining the momentum it needed as it approaches conference play next weekend.
An incredibly important weekend for us. We needed to grow this weekend. We needed to get a little bit more grit, and I think we did that. And UVM today, they definitely pushed back and they played a good game, and that was a really good experience for us to have a game like that and be in a position where we had to compete and battle right to the end of the game.
Allison Small got the start in net for the Bobcats, only her 2nd start of the season. The freshman earned her keep, stopping 24 shots, but her most important came in the final minutes when Vermont had a 2-on-0 chance to tie the game.
I was a little nervous, not gonna lie, but the Vermont player, I was a little afraid about that pass coming across, and then the Vermont player really she had a nice move, and then I just wanted to keep competing, not let the puck go in the net, so just tried my best not to let it happen.
She's a competitor. We've been really excited to have her and to have her coming to Quinnipiac. You saw that true competitive mentality in her in the 3rd period today. She was ready to save our team when we needed her, which was key.
Quinnipiac freshman Brooke Bonsteel scored her 1st and 2nd collegiate goals last night, and today she scored the 1st goal of the game, making it her 3rd career collegiate goal. Next up for the Bobcats is a trip to Chestnut Hill on Tuesday, taking on a perennial powerhouse in women's ice hockey, the Boston College Eagles. From the TD Bank Sports Center, I'm MJ Baird, Q30 Sports.
It's time for another commercial break, but when we come back, we'll see how volleyball fared this weekend in upstate New York against Siena and Marist.
And everyone's favorite time, the top 5 plays of the week, is coming up next. We'll be right back.
Hello, and tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired, and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Qcash is accepted.
Now that's a sandwich.
Good morning and welcome to the Morning After.
Sports Paws is brought to you by Custom Cakes by Steve. If you can dream it, we can bake it. The Bobcats traveled to Albany, New York to face Siena in a MAC contest. Quinnipiac had swept Siena in 3 straight sets earlier this season. This time around, the Saints had revenge on their mind, looking to take advantage of a Bobcats team who was missing Elizabeth Cluse and Jen Coffey. Quinnipiac fought hard, losing the first set 25-23 and the last 2 sets by a combined 9 points. The loss brought Quinnipiac to 5-5 in MAC play, going into their Sunday contest against Marist.
On Sunday, Quinnipiac fell to Marist 3-1. The Bobcats jumped ahead early, winning the first set 25-22. Yet the Red Foxes came back to win the next 3 sets despite the loss. Sophomore Maria Pensari became just the 3rd player in program history to reach 2,000 career assists. Jen McLean holds the record with 4,519 career assists. Kat Miller also led the Bobcats with 13 kills in her first full match since September 24th. Well, on each edition of Meet the Bobcats, the Q30 Sports Crew takes an inside look of what it's like off the playing field for Quinnipiac student athletes.
On this edition, we feature women's volleyball freshman Michelle Cuervo. Michelle does more than just send kills over the net. Mike Dalton has more on her story.
Hey guys, I'm Michael Dalton here with volleyball outside hitter Michelle Cuervo. So you've done a lot with like volunteer work, and you've recorded books on CDs for children with autism. You've worked with the animal adoption program, and you even did a Christmas toy drive for children with disabilities. How did this all start, all this volunteer work?
Well, I was in the International Baccalaureate program during high school, and they do this thing called CAS, where it's Community Action and Service, and you're supposed to come up with an event that you want to do, or like a project. And basically, like, I worked with kids with autism while I was in elementary school because of this program that we had. So my mom works at my elementary school, so I got together with her and a couple counselors, and they were like, oh, like, can you record some books for us? And like, so I kind of worked with them, and it was just like a really cool experience.
So how did that like whole process take place with the recording books? Did you mostly go through your mother, or did you have to go through the town or the school, or how did that whole process work?
Well, I would just record the books. Like, I would read them at home, record them on a mic, simple, connected to my computer. And I really worked more with the counselor rather than my mom. She was more like the connector.
Yeah, the connection.
Like she
Okay, yeah.
connected us, and it was really cool.
As far as now, do you have anything planned in the future for volunteering, like maybe volunteering on campus here at QU?
Anything that comes my way, I'll do it, and I most definitely want to get into more volunteer work while I'm here. Probably more off season, so I have more time.
Yeah.
But I'm just like excited. Like, I really want to work with kids for sure, so I want to get into some volunteer work with that.
So Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. Now back to you guys in the media suite.
Thanks, Mike. Great work as always, Aaron. Michelle's community service could definitely be a top play outside the game. But let's now look at the top 5 plays of the week. My favorite time, Aaron. I'll get us started with number 5. And we're going back to women's ice hockey against Vermont. Sarah Evkatugabu with an easy empty netter. I think it's more about the season she's been having so far and what she's going to have. She's going to have a breakout sophomore year in my eyes, Aaron.
Absolutely. Number 4, we're going to the men's ice hockey game versus Vermont. It's been a freshman frenzy this week, and after a shot goes right in front of the net, Odin Tufto puts it into the back of the net for the first of his career.
Numero Trace. Hannah Ryder with a beautiful pass across the pitch to Al Pelletier, the MAC Offensive Player of the Week. And, well, this is why she got that award, tying it up for Quinnipiac, even though they fall to Iona. I love the intensity, Aaron.
Absolutely. Now we're going to number 2, back to the women's ice hockey game. We're on a power play, and a shot gets deflected, but Brooke Bonsteel goes top shelf and puts it into the back of the net. What a day for the freshman. She got off to a hot start.
And the top play of the week, you knew this one was coming. Odin Tufto in overtime to give the Bobcats their first win of the season. And the celebration, Aaron, it could be its own top play for itself. I don't know which one I liked better, the Odin Tufto celebration or the Al Pelletier after her goal. Both were excellent.
Both were absolutely sensational.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of Sports Paws. Make sure to follow @Q30 Sports on Twitter for the latest on all Quinnipiac sports.
And make sure you check out our website at Q30TV.com for all content involving Quinnipiac athletics. For Kyle Lavasser, I'm Aaron Robinson. That's all we have for tonight. See you same time, same place next week for another great episode of Sports Paws.